Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our virtual UBCO BFA Grads Artist Talk series. My name is Megan. I am the Marketing and Events Coordinator here at the Vernon Public Art Gallery. As a cultural institution, I would like to just respectfully acknowledge that I'm located on the unceded and ancestral territory of the Syilx people. I would also like to thank Alternatives Funeral and Cremation Services for supporting the gallery and our artist talks. Tonight, I'm very happy to introduce to you Coralee Miller. So Coralee Miller's work is on exhibition at the Vernon Public Art Gallery right now in the Emergence exhibition. So her paintings are inspired by her family and oral stories of the Syilx Nation. Miller's paintings draw on the traditional stories and narratives which outline the cultural values and attitudes towards the environment we are living in. The paintings mirror Miller's acknowledgement of her identity as a member of the Syilx Nation and the culture she was born into. Her paintings are firmly situated in the realms of the natural and spiritual environments. So just a bit of housekeeping before we begin, just in case anyone joins during the chat here. So if you would like to ask a question after, feel free to turn on your mic and your camera and go ahead. And without further ado, I'd like to just give a warm welcome to Coralee Miller. Take it away.
Hi, why? Isquis Coralees, Quintilos de Cactus Lanut. Hi, my name's Coralee and I'm from Windy Bay, also known as West Bank. So I joined the BFA program when, oh gosh, it was probably 2016, 2017. I was originally going to go for social work, but then I realized I actually wanted to be happy. So I made the switch. And it was probably one of the first decisions I ever made that I didn't feel like barfing after. So I knew I made a good choice. Man, university was hard. I learned a lot, but man, just getting to that point was very difficult. I've never really liked school. So I'm not much of an academic person, so, but I try. And I mean, I made it, I graduated and here we are. Now you're stuck here listening to me, so I win. So my artwork, it went through a lot of different changes. So I grew up, I knew I was Native, but because of I never felt super into my culture. There were, I'm white presenting, as you can see, and I'm very self-aware that I do have that white privilege. And so me growing up, not really understanding what Native art was, I like to draw fairies when I was growing up. I like to draw like fantasy things, unicorns and stuff. And I have my great grandmother, Mary Derrickson, and she was one of the Native artists within our community, because there's like a Bev Swite and there's Margaret Derrickson and there's Noel, all kind of like the people that kind of started the art community within our community. And looking at her work, I think my touchstone, as the teachers call it, is she had this beautiful painting. It was very simple, but so pretty to me. And it's a woman with antlers coming out of her head. And to me, it looked like a fairy. And that's where I found that I could merge those two things together. But growing up, because of, popular media, my idea of Native art was, dream catchers, the ovoids. It was the coastal stuff. It was beads and feathers. And I thought that I wasn't welcome to that world. But luckily I had someone who her name is Tracy Satin, and she was part of the repository at WFN, and she gave me that push to start working at the museum, but also to kind of put my art out there. And from there, as I started working at the museum and being close to oral stories and learning about the different songs and our history, even like what made us Syilx people. We were a semi-nomadic people that covered about 69,000 square kilometers of our territory, going by a 13-moon schedule. It made a lot more sense in how my own family dynamic worked. And so there I started to put the pieces together and create the identity. So it's kind of a weird thing. I feel like I'm just now getting to really know where I stand within my community. I had on my dad's side of the family people that did not like natives, and then I had people in my community that don't like white people. So you have that weird feeling of, well, where do I go? Where can I be? And so the art was a way for me to have that conversation of what is Native art to myself? Who am I as a Native woman making my art? So it's really changed, and I feel like I've amazing amount of growth and insight. And I think the more I worked, the more I hang out with my community, the more I learn from my family members. I am figuring out who I am and where I fit within the community. And so with my artwork, a lot of the oral stories I take so much inspiration from, because when you first read them, it's like, oh, that's nice. It's a cute little, moral story, but it's so much deeper than that. A lot of the stories that you read and even just listen to, there's a deeper meaning underneath it. The more and more you listen to it, you reread it, and you really try to figure out what that actual meaning is. And I learned that through a lot of the stories, like these are my own interpretations. You don't have to believe a darn thing I tell you. I'm just happy that you're here to listen. But here are my own thoughts and my own discoveries through some of these oral stories. So for myself, a lot of these stories, there is an element of creation. There is an element of punishment and the forgiveness that comes with it. So in a lot of these stories are Coyote stories. Coyote is given a job by Kulnjutin to get rid of all the national skeleton, the people-eating monsters. And these monsters only exist because they were not cool with the idea of humans. So when they got their names, their bodies twisted into something that wouldn't be hospitable to us. And so Coyote is tasked with getting rid of them. But how he does it is, yeah, he kills them. There's pain, and there is the final death blow, but he doesn't just leave them like that. When he drops them, he gives them the law. He changes them into something that is good and gives them a second chance, repurposes them. And for myself, I feel like that is such a powerful lesson right there, is forgiveness. Transformation requires a little bit of pain. And what we learn too is that Coyote dies a lot too. That Coyote, whenever he perishes, he can be brought back to life by his brother by being jumped over like 4 times. And Coyote, he dies a lot because he goes against those teachings of being honest, of being humble, of being true to yourself. And it's when he makes those mistakes, he ends up perishing. And the bringing him back to life is that resetting and, okay, getting back up on the horse. And that applies so much to our communities today too. A lot of us, we just need that time we need that forgiveness, we need that grace, and we need that patience from community members to come back to that right path, get back up on that horse. But that's my interpretation of it. And so part of these stories also talk about the way in which our relationship with the land ties in as well. So I'm very fascinated with the taking of a resource and the reciprocating relationship. So when you kill an animal, you use every part of it, and what you can't, then you give back to the land. We're supposed to be viewing plants and animals as relatives, not so much something that we can just take, use, and toss away. There has to be a balance. So with wonder if I can screen share. Yes, I can. Here we go. So for Coyote returns to life, it's that returning of himself. It's the returning of the flesh. It's returning of the bone. It's the changing of the body. So healing is painful. Transformation is painful, whether it is the falling off the wagon or it's the returning back. So, for example, when we are trying to make ourselves better, it's painful. When we do something wrong, we get scolded. That's a shot to the ego, but it's good. We need that. When we're trying to make our bodies healthier, our body hurts. You're having to relearn not to, ignore hunger. You're learning to ignore the groaning of your muscles, the popping of your joints because you're trying to get yourself stronger. There's pain. There's a payment that comes within that transformation. And so, and it's okay to feel that pain. It's actually a good thing. We are told that, well, at least in my family, we're told that when you sweat, the body suffers, but the spirit thrives. It's that reminder that you're alive and that you're strong and you're enduring this. We're resilient by nature, and culturally, that's just what we are. My people, we really focused on physical fitness and being strong. So, and I find all of that within my artwork too. The binding of the muscles, the bones holding up the weight, and just the blood that pumps us and gives us your strength, and even the sumich, the inner power, is what that all is. So when I try to think of all of these things when I'm painting, when I'm trying to figure out a concept, is that reciprocation. There has to be that give and take. And I think the more I look into it too, even in the name Syilx, the yil part means to weave many strands. It's the weaving. And I think it's not so much talking about textiles, it's talking about how we interweave ourselves with the land, with language, with other people. But I think it's also backing up the philosophy that we see life as a giant braid. And we're not the humans standing on the outside looking at this braid, we're actually mixed up in the chaos of it. So we're animals. We're the result of all of these things coming together to create us. As humans, we share a lot of our DNA with plants and animals. We're made up of electricity, we're made up of water, we're made up of chemicals, acids, salts, fats. And how amazing is that? Even minerals, there are minerals inside of us. So we really are, we're so much a part of the natural world that it's crazy to think that we couldn't be a part of that. And I think even the purpose of us is not so much to claim dominion over nature, but more of a, not even servitude, but I guess a understanding that we're equal, that there is more responsibility to us in maintaining the land, maintaining water, And all of that is just so important. And it's all there in our stories too. It's really an amazing thing. And I think through this whole journey, I was able to figure out so much of my culture and how I incorporate that. How do I incorporate the stories? How do I make something that is oral and make it visual? I love stories, and I still do. Like I'm 30 years old, but I still read comic books. I love cartoons. I like heroes, and there's just so much there that I love within our own oral stories. And they're timeless and they're still relevant because all of the lessons that you're learning from these stories, um, it's still relevant today. And I encourage people to go out and, if there is someone who is telling stories at the appropriate time, sit down and listen. And there's lots of written resources out there too. There's Coyote Stories by a Mourning Dove, and that was my first introduction. And then growing up with some oral stories from some of our elders that would talk to us. It's really directed my process, my thinking process when creating the work. And so there are elements that is in our artwork that I see within my other community members too when they make art, is that nothing we do is ever for just aesthetic. It's there because it's telling a story. It's a symbol, it's a little marker, it's a memory cue when you're looking at that thing. There are so many things also that you skip over in a story, but really they're still very much important. So for example, my great grandma, when she did artwork, there was always the incorporation of the sun. In all of her paintings, there's the sun. The sun has to be present in all of these paintings. And a lot of her work would be silhouettes, and they would be a lot of circles involved. And I think that kind of carried into my artwork as well, as subconsciously, I'm always drawing in circles too. It's just it's a good shape. I'm told that that's why we like their houses round, is because negative energy can't hide in the corners that way. So other things that she would do is, they're very feminine too. A lot of these paintings, it's my one culture where women are celebrated. There's so much responsibility placed on women as well. There's we're the life givers, but we have that deep connection to land. We have that deep connection to water, and that all ties in from our menstrual cycles and the ability in which we mature a little bit faster than our counterparts. And so all of this has just been such a delight, and it feels like I found myself. And it is sad a little bit. My great grandma, I would draw fairies and she would say, draw something nice, draw me a deer. And well, it took me so long to get to that point because I was afraid. I was so afraid to do that kind of artwork because I felt like it was not for me. That was something that I couldn't have. But really it was myself and my own ideas of what a First Nation artist is. And I put those own barriers up. But now I'm doing the art that she likes, and she's not here to see it. So that's kind of a sad point, but I just made myself a promise that I'm not going to get in my way anymore. So if I want something, I'm going to do it. If I'm curious about something, I'm going to pursue it. And I'm going to always ask questions and continue to learn more about this us amazing people. And where else I can go from this. So the very spiritual aspects within my paintings too is it's all tying back to my own family beliefs. We spiritual for sure, but there are rules. There's respect with everything, respect in treating your plants and how you handle things, and respect in your animals. And I try to also show that within my artwork as well. Yeah. But yeah, sorry if this sounds like I'm super rambling. I'm still I can't even believe it. I made it. I wanted to drop out so bad in school, but I'm very happy that I did it, because I don't know. I don't think these certain conditions had to be met. This was an amazing self-discovery and finding out what my own strengths are and what I was going to put up with anymore. So yeah, I know that I've learned a lot, and I hope to use these new skills to strengthen my art and to be an asset to my community. How I can use that art to be of service and to better represent the culture in a good way, that gives it justice. So a lot of I think that's what kept me in school, is because I knew I get my ass kicked if I actually did dropped out. There was a lot of people rooting for me, and that was amazing. So I held on just because I wanted to avoid the guilt trip. So we're good at that. But yeah, what more can I say?
Thank you, Coralee. Yeah, I mean, I think that was really great. And I really enjoyed listening to you speak about, and after, of course, seeing your artwork in the gallery. So it's really awesome. And just kind of hearing your story about the struggle of even just being an artist and knowing what you want to talk about. I think that's something that we all deal with in the art community and within your own communities that you're part of. So yeah, I think that's really nice to hear. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, well, that was really great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to talk. And I will have this uploaded tomorrow at some point, and I will post it on all of our socials as well. So stay tuned for that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your night.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.